Here are some of the first things that you can do on CMF Phone 2 Pro after the initial configuration. So if you are after the setup wizard and you are not sure what you should do next, then let me try to give you some tips. First and foremost, sometimes if you go to notifications, you get the Android setup notification that asks you to finish setting up this device. Most of the time, if you go through these settings, you can see pretty much the same stuff that you can see and do during the initial configuration. So technically, it is a second chance to, for example, do something, activate something, enable something that you didn't do during the initial configuration. However, most of these things can be done, for example, through settings, so it doesn't really matter that much. I personally often just skip the notification, I just swipe it away, because there is no point of going through these options again. However, if you prefer to do that, then of course feel free to do so. So the next thing that we can do is of course update our phone. We want to make sure that we are running the latest updates. So once you open settings, we want to scroll down until you find system, and then over here in system you should be able to find system updates, and there we go. If it's up to date, then of course that's great, but you can also press check for update in order to double check to make sure that you are running the latest version of your system. The next thing that we can do is add our Google account. So over here what we can do is we're gonna actually go back to the settings, there we go. And over here we want to go to passwords, passkeys, and accounts. And over here we can add our account. So we can press add account and choose, for example, Google in order to sign into our, well, first Google account if you didn't do that yet, or just another ones if you have multiple different Google accounts. Besides that, we can also sign into nothing account if you feel like it, of course. It is not really required to do so. And of course, Google accounts, while also not required, it is still recommended to use one because due to that, or with the Google account, we have access, for example, to the Play Store, so definitely worth doing this. So let's go back to settings. Another thing that we can do in the settings, this time I'm gonna go to security and privacy over here. And here we have the device unlock option. So you can create the screen lock password, you can create a password for your phone, you can choose one of these password types that you wish to use. Let's say I can choose a simple PIN code. Let's set it up, enter the password twice in order to confirm. And now, besides that, we have the option to choose whether we want to see notifications in the lock screen or not. So we can set it up over here, and there we go. Besides that, we can also find biometrics such as the fingerprint or face unlock. So definitely worth setting at least one of them as well. Now over here, what is I think also quite important is the theft protection. So over here we can enable the theft detection lock, the offline device lock. Besides that, there is also the remote lock, which allows you to lock your device remotely if it gets lost or stolen. Over here we can also read how it works and what you should keep in mind. And there is also find my device. So over here we can go find and erase your device. In order to find my device, of course, you need to use location to be able to fully use it and utilize it. But essentially, this is where we can take care of the protection of our phone. Besides that, in the security and privacy settings, we can scroll down in order to find more security and privacy. And over here, if we scroll down just a little bit, you should be able to find power off verify, and this option allows you to require the screen lock password every time you try to turn off the phone, which means that, for example, if someone finds your phone, they won't be able to turn it off, which is of course quite convenient because this might help you locate your phone. Now, another thing that is worth mentioning is always on display, because we actually do have always on display on this phone. In order to find it, we need to go to the lock screen settings, and then over here scroll all the way down in order to find always show basic info of lock screen. Over here we can read that this is always on display section. And there we go, this is how we can enable AOD. We can also make it enabled according to our schedule, which can be set up over here, or you can just simply set it to tap to show, so you can tap the screen when it's off in order to show always on display. After that, we're gonna go back to the settings, and this time we're gonna choose customization, and over here then we can go to layout, in order to, for example, enable app labels, which means that we can get the names of apps in the home screen, because by default, as you can see, we only have icons over here. It doesn't apply to the app drawer, but it does in the home screen. So if we enable app label and apply this change, as you can see, now we actually do have names of apps over here. So this is of course up to personal preference, but I think most of the phones actually have app names. So you might be actually used to that kind of style instead of just icons. So if you prefer to have names, then of course this is how we can enable it. Another thing that is worth checking out is the battery section in the settings. So in the settings we can go to battery, there we go. And there are a couple of different things that we can use, such as the battery percentage, so that we can always see how much percentage of battery is left before we need to start charging again. There is also battery health, where we have smart charging mode and custom charging mode. Now, custom charging mode allows you to set the charging limit between 70 and 80% in order to help protect the battery life. However, this is well recommended if you charge daily and if you have some sort of pattern. And then there's also the smart charging mode, which allows you to charge the phone better. Well, not better, but preserve the battery health in a more efficient way when you charge overnight. Not only that, we can go back to the battery settings in order to find other useful options, like for example adaptive battery. I think it is enabled by default, so it's worth double checking just in case. There's also sleep standby optimization, and we also have charging assistant, and for example the battery saver, which can be even set up for the schedule based on percentage, so you can automatically enable battery saver to use your battery for a little bit longer before it runs out of its percentages. Now, as you may have noticed also, we do have the dark theme enabled by default. So if you are not a fan of the dark theme, then in that case we need to go to the display settings over here. And there we go. Here we have the dark theme with this simple switch. We can go back to the light theme. You can also go to the dark theme in order to find the schedule option, so you can actually make it work so that based on your custom selection of time, the dark theme will be automatically enabled and disabled. Alright, so next, still in in display settings, we have adaptive brightness, which is the automatic screen brightness. Some people prefer to use the automatic screen brightness, some people prefer to have steady brightness level all the time. So here you can decide if you want to have automatic screen brightness or not. Besides that, we can also change the brightness level over here. And yeah, and that's all. Now, we can exit display settings. The next settings that I want to show you is the special features setting. Because over here, if you go to gestures, you should be able to find the navigation mode option. And here you can actually switch from gesture to 3-button navigation if you prefer to have buttons instead of using gestures. Besides that, we can tap on the setting icon on the right side in order to switch the position of the back button so that it can be on the right side instead of the left side. Gesture navigation also has some additional options, such as the hide navigation bar option. We also have a gesture that allows you to activate the digital assistant, that is by swiping towards the middle from one of the bottom corners. And we also have setting for sensitivity for going back. And now, over here in the gestures, I can also show you the screenshot gesture, which is actually disabled by default. And I think it is quite convenient to use 3-finger swipe option. Besides that, we can also disable the power button and volume down button shortcut, because by default, this is how we capture a screenshot. You just simply press power button and volume down like this. But with 3-finger swipe, you can, for example, swipe from the top towards the middle like this with 3 fingers. And you can also press and hold 3 fingers on your screen in order to select the area that should be captured. You can still adjust the cropped area over here in order to set up the screenshot. So definitely worth using these gestures. Now we're gonna go back to the settings in special features again and gestures, because actually no, we don't have to go to gestures anymore. There's also the RAM booster in special features. This is what I wanted to show you as well. Over here we can extend our RAM by 2, 4, or 8 gigabytes. Of course, if you choose any of these options, you will need to reboot your phone in order to apply these settings. However, it is recommended to use this feature only when there is enough space, storage space available, because the storage space is being converted to the RAM. And last but not least, I want to also show you the app drawer settings, because for example, over here, as you can see, we have these app suggestions. So if you are not a fan of that, or if you want to have some sort of like Apple app library style of your app drawer, then you can simply tap on these 3 dots in the top right corner. And first of all, app suggestions can be disabled over here. So as you can see now, I don't have these 4 apps at the top. And there is also that smart app drawer, which looks like this. It resembles the iPhone's app library. The difference is that you don't have the app library option at the top over here. So apps are categorized automatically like this into these big folders. And that's about it. I think these are one of the most important things that you can do on your phone in order to prepare it for your daily use. Of course, the next step is, for example, going to the Play Store and downloading apps that you will use. And oh, there's also one more thing that I actually forgot about. And that is the app updates. So in the Play Store, we can tap on our profile over here in the top right corner. Then we can go to manage apps and the device, and over here we can check if we have any updates. So we can update one by one each single app, or we can simply press update all in order to make sure that we also have all apps updated. So yeah, I think that's about it. These are all essential tips, I believe, that should be done on our new CMF Phone 2 Pro right after the setup wizard. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and see you in my next videos. Bye.